to declare the meeting open at 5:30 and acknowledge the traditional custodians, the Garriotta people, and acknowledge the contribution of Garriotta elders past, present and future in working together for the future of Port Hedland. Thank you. Item 3, recordance of attendance is as listed. All councillors are present. 3.2, attendance by telephone, instantaneous communication, there is nil. 3.3, apologies, there is nil. 3.4, approved leave of absence, there is nil. 3.5, disclosures of interest. Council members, do I have any disclosures of interest? There is nil.
Sorry, Mr. Mayor, it's an interesting comment.
I'd just like to read out a statement before we go on. I'd like to thank the elected members, town executive members and members of the community for being here this evening to discuss the proposed 2018-19 rating strategy. For everyone's background, this strategy determines how the council collects rates for the coming financial year. It details the percentage of rates yield from categories such as residential, commercial, mining, mass accommodation. If elected members endorse the strategy tonight, it will then be delivered to the Minister of Local Government, Heritage and Culture and the Arts for approval. Once the strategy receives ministerial approval, then Council will proceed to budget adoption. This rating strategy is the result of many months of planning and consultation. I'd like to thank those that attended our consultation sessions in May and those that provided formal submissions to the Council detailing your views. We appreciate your feedback and have taken your views into consideration. The driving factor behind the 2018-19 rating strategy is Council's need to face the reality of decreasing property values across Hedland in recent years. This has impacted the revenue generated by Council and has meant we've had to make hard decisions to secure our financial position for the future. In saying that, the proposed strategy will result in 91% of residential ratepayers receiving a reduction in their rates from last year. The community has said they expect service delivery to continue at the current levels into the future, which was made clear during the Strategic Community Plan consultation process. However, as everyone knows, town-wide upgrades to roads, infrastructure and facilities can only happen if Council generates enough revenue to pay for it. The roads we all use and the waste management services we rely on require funding to remain operational. It's important to highlight that any amendment to Council rates should be viewed in the context of recent increases to utility charges such as electricity and water, which contribute to Council's operational costs. The factors contributing to the cost of running a local government authority are complex and are often affected by factors outside of our control or jurisdiction. The proposed rate strategy seeks a more equitable distribution of how the rates yield is collected, and we have tried to strike the right balance between the needs and concerns of residents, business and industry. There is often never a perfect answer to the question on how we collect rates. However, we should all agree on a common need to maintain the services that we all rely on. So I kindly ask those wishing to contribute to the debate tonight to do so in a respectful manner and respect the views of others. Thank you. Item 4, public time. This meeting is being recorded on audio tape and streamed live online as an additional recording of the meeting, and to assist with minute-taking purposes, which may be released upon request to third parties. If you do not give your permission for recording your participation, please indicate this at the meeting. The public is reminded that in accordance with section 616 of the Town of Port Hedland local law and standing orders, nobody shall use any visual, vocal, electronic device or instrument to record the proceeding of any meeting unless that person has been given permission by the presiding member to do so. Members of the public are also reminded that in accordance with section 6174 of the Town of Port Hedland local law and standing orders, mobile telephones must be switched off and not used during the meeting. In accordance with section 673 of the Town of Port Hedland local law and standing orders, members of the public are required to complete a question form and place the completed form in the tray provided. So for members of the public that are here tonight, I'm happy for you to use your electronic devices to follow the agenda if you would like. Public question time. I'll open public question time at 5:36 and call for public questions. Do I have any public questions from the gallery?
Well, it's more of a statement than anything.
Statement time is next. You can do a statement.
I'll ask you a question.
Yep.
I'm one of the lucky ones that got a rate increase. So I'll ask you a question.
Can you come up to the podium and you'll have to state your name and address?
My name's Rod Kavanagh. I've lived here forever, and I'm not real happy with what's happened here.
Can I have your address, Rod?
4 Canine Cove, pretty cool.
Thanks.
The Shire had 5 years to address the GRV, which under law that's the maximum they can take. In the city it's 3 years, in the country it's 5 years, so you waited as long as you possibly could before you got the GRV revalued to what it should be, which it is now. But now you've doubled the cents in the dollar, which has actually given us a rate increase. So my question is, I know your biggest revenue is from rates, but what happened with the airport? We leased the airport out, or you guys did, we didn't have a choice, but the airport was leased out. Now, what happens to that money? Why can't you get some of that money back to help us out? Because people are hurting in town and can't afford this shit. I know you can't hurt. You're saying you can't afford it, nor can we. Just look how many foreclosures and everything there is around town at the moment, and this is going to make it worse. The town's been going through a normalisation process, and this goes completely against that, because you're not going on a normal process of rates. So what my question was, the first question of tonight, is what happened with that airport money?
Rod, the airport money is still in the bank. We haven't used it. This year we are using the interest generated from that fund, but we are looking at trying to build that fund into a bigger pot of money, so we can generate a significant amount of interest off it, to then apply that to the services and rate reductions that could happen if we are able to build it to the appropriate level.
But now is the time, because we're going through the biggest downturn we've ever had, even worse than HPI and everything, and you're not doing anything to help us out. But some of that money should be pulled out now. Who cares about 20 years' time? Who cares? Now, we need it now. The town might go through another boom by then and it might be all right. But right now we need some help. So that some of that money should be dragged back and the rates should be reduced to at least halfway where they should be, because no one else pays rates like this. It's ridiculous. Totally ridiculous.
Thank you, Rod.
And people can't afford it anymore. We could, when the booms were on, people could pay it and there was no excuse, but now there is an excuse. People can't do it.
So I'll take one of your points there, Rod, and say if we reduced rates by half, we currently have cut the budget to the bone. If we reduce rates by half, that means we'll have to reduce our staffing and services to the town by half. Now, the strategic community plan that we done, the consultation with the community was extensive. It was the biggest consultation that we have ever applied to the town of Port Hedland, and we had a majority of people that said they would rather keep services as they are, which means we need to generate enough money to pay for all the services that we provide currently.
Yeah, well, a lot of those people might not have been rate players. They might have just been people living in company houses where they don't have to go through this rubbish. Yeah, I just think that some of the airport money should be dragged out and used because it's needed now. It's not needed. Don't worry about the future. Just do it now. That's my point.
Thank you, Rod. And that, again, is a decision the council will take when we have a look at what we will be doing with those funds. Do I have any other public questions?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. It's councillors. It's Jim Hennebury from the Ratepayers Association, 51 Kingsmill Street, Port Hedland is my address. When the first proposed budget came out, it was an increase of approximately $2.5 million on the previous year. So the Progress Association wrote in and says, could you keep it at the previous level of $25 billion? When I saw this afternoon, it looks like on page 2 of your papers, it says the above rate model will yield $30,598,000. So I couldn't understand why it has gone up. So reading through it, it says to fund things in the strategic community plan. When I asked about what were the figures for the community strategic plan and the items you were going to address in there, I was told there was no budget and there wouldn't be no budget till the end of 2019. So again, on behalf of the Progress Association, I'd like to ask the councillors to keep this at the $25 million mark because I can understand why it's gone up $5 million. So my question is, if we have no itemised budget figures for the community strategic plan, how can we then put it into the budget? How can we increase rates to cover them? I can't see the logic there. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hendelbury. The reason we have a figure of $30 million is because we have found other areas of the town that we're able to rate, and we must, it's legislated that we must include it in the current budget numbers, but it's a high risk and we don't want to use that money until we're absolutely clear that we are able to. But it's legislated that we have to add it to the budget.
Well, the submissions you received in all are asking you to keep the rates as they are or subsidise them through the airport income. So I'll leave that with you. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Do I have any further public questions?
Yep. So my name's Tygo Donahue. I'm of 28 Sullivan Street, Port Hedland. So listening to these two guys, I totally agree. Why is there an increase in the budget, which you've answered? The second one too is, so why when our house values and rental yields are dropping, why increase the residential rates in the dollar from 5.4885 to 11.15 in the first proposition to 9.3483? So that's a 70% increase from last year's, rates in the dollar cents and the dollar value. That just seems ridiculous. When my house price personally has gone down 300% since 2014. So the other question I've got for you... Can
we answer that question one at a time? Yeah,
go for it.
CEO, can I...
And I understand the valuation process and
that's right.
GRV shift.
If I can just refer to the manager of finance.
Thank you. Through the chair, so in relation to developing a rating strategy, there's many ways to look at how to do that. So, as a town, we have, as the Mayor mentioned, a certain level of service that needs to be delivered, which means we need to raise a certain level of revenue to deliver that service, which is determined through the total yield of the revenue. So the rates this year were determined by working on the yield, not on the rate in the dollar, and you'll see that a comparable application has been provided through all the other local governments that have had the same revaluations Karratha as an example,
Yep.
you'll see that their rate in the dollar's gone up about the same.
Yep. So I totally agree with the old mate's question here. I don't know his name. Going from the 17-18. So far this year, you've spent $25.771302 million.
Can we just get the first answer, the first question answered?
Oh, sorry.
Is that, yeah, that's it? Okay, thank you.
Thanks for that. So the budget this year, it looks like they're going to have spent 25 mil. So again, why have we increased in the new proposal that came out last night to 30.5 mil? So why an increase of $5 million? Because you found some extra property there. Just again, that there is an 18% increase,
Yeah.
which is ridiculous.
Can I get that answered? See you.
Yeah, if I can refer that down.
Thank you, David. So there's been quite a lot of work gone into this and a lot of last minute information just to give you the picture. So at the time of advertising the rates model, that was based on information assumptions that we knew at that point in time. As you know, there has been a revaluation through the GRV and the UV. This happens triannually as per the Valuer General. So what's happened since the advertised rating strategy was sent out, we've received the full valuation rolls. And then from there also, we have received additional information in relation to the UV valuations, which include leases which are now rateable, which the Mayor was speaking about before, and also amending the basis of rating for a number of affected properties. So,
oh, sorry.
No, that's okay. This actually did have quite a material impact on the yield, as you can see from the proposed budget, which is presented in the model tonight. And we've had to rework quite a lot of our rating strategy, and it was discussed at length recently with the elected members in a workshop around how we're going to manage and appropriately distribute that yield. What has happened is, part of that $30 million, there is about $500,000 of concessions that will come off that yield total, so we do need to take that into consideration, so that is actually unrealisable revenue. And then we've also provided for a provision to ensure possible valuation reviews do not materially impact the service and asset renewal for the town. So we're treading very cautiously in the direction of all of that.
Right. So I'll maybe ask a question a different way. What is the increase? What are we spending an extra $5 million on this year?
Let's see you.
Maybe I didn't hear that properly, or maybe it wasn't made clear.
That's okay. We're not.
Okay, so
we're not, it's going into a provision.
Therefore, that's an 18.73% increase, which can then represent an 18% decrease in the
so
in the dollar.
As the Mayor said previously, it's very high risk. Until we're certain that these funds will be realisable, it's very risky for the town to expect to receive those funds and then possibly leave ourselves in a very difficult position.
Yeah, right. Okay, my final question is, where are we? The UV mining rates in the dollar, okay, that used to be 42.3693 back in 2015 and 16, okay. This year it's 37.1665. So that's a decrease of 12%. Why hasn't that copped a 70% increase like our residential rates?
We have been instructed by the state government to reduce rates in specific areas because we're gouging. So, we have to comply with those requirements.
So, as the state
I would like to lift their rates, believe me, but it does have an impact on approving the rates in the dollar, and they do have to go to the Minister for approval. So at the end of the day, we are accountable to the Minister in those areas, and if we don't comply with the requirements, they reject our proposal.
Okay, so if they've instructed to have a reduction in that UV mining, of whatever percentage it was, a decrease of 12%, are they going to kick in? Is there any money in the state budget to help offset that?
No, there
or
isn't.
is the town of Port Hedland always going to want to try and raise $25-30 million a year in rates?
Well, see that?
In a sense, that's correct.
Yeah.
So our operating budget, we need 25 mil to operate. Is that correct?
At the current level of service, we would require 25-26 million. If we're going to reduce the level of service and then second year can be a reduction.
Roger. Right. Thanks for your time.
Thanks. Do I have any further public questions?
Firstly, the lady on the end, I beg to differ.
Can I get you to state your name and address again? Thanks.
Rod Kavanagh for Canine Cove in pretty poor. I rang Landgate, this is a couple of years ago, and they told me that local governments in the city have to do their reassessment every 3 years. Country has 5 years, which is what you guys have done. You haven't done it 3 years, so you've left it as long as possible on the amount of time that it's taken to go down. So you've hammered us, basically.
Rod, it is 3 years.
They told me 5 years.
Yeah, I'm sure if you gave them a call back, they would tell you 3 years. But I know it's 3 years.
We haven't had it done in 3 years. We've had it done in 5 years.
No, I'm afraid it's every 3 years it gets done.
I don't think so.
Yeah.
Anyway, I've got a question. Is the reason you've upped the cents in the dollar, like so dramatically, the reason you've done that is because we have a basis to argue the GRV with Landgate, but we don't have a basis to argue the cents in the dollar as far as I see it. Because we can put a form into Landgate arguing that the GRV is not right, and then if we can prove it, we'll probably win. But because you've left that alone, you've put that at about the right amount, but you've upped the other half, which is highly unusual to go up that high. So you haven't left us a leg to stand on. Is that why you've done it that way?
No, Mr. Kavanagh. Every ratepayer has the opportunity to put the objection into Landgate on their valuation, but there is a risk that the valuation will go up, and there is obviously an opportunity that may go down. So that is for the Valuer General to determine if the application for an objection goes in.
Yeah, but you can only object to the GRV amount because you can object. We can't object to the cents in the dollar increase. So that's why I think you've done it that way, because you've left us with no leg to stand on.
CEO, is there another way to answer that?
Thank you, through the chair. So the valuations provided through the Valuer General and then through Landgate are under the Valuation Land Act.
Yeah.
And they occur every 3 years. We actually don't have any determination over the valuations that are provided. The only decisions that the council can make are in relation to the rate in the dollar or the cents in the dollar. And we conduct a very comprehensive consultation process to receive the submissions to be considered by the council prior to the adoption of that rate in the dollar each financial year.
Well, I've put a submission in to here and to the Minister for Government, whatever else he does. I haven't received a reply from either, so I don't think that's very good. But yeah, the GRV is done on rental, obviously, and the rental, the figures like on my place reflects what they are worth now, but they haven't been worth that for 3 years. So that's what I'm saying. That's why I think you've done it this way, because we can't argue now.
Thank you, Mr. Kavanagh. Do I have any further public questions?
Just a quick one there.
Yeah, Trevor Brody, Trevell Engineering, 28 Harper. Just a question with the Shire's, say, policy on small business. We're only 3-4 people, and I know there was a few other businesses that come up to the last meeting there which are only 2 and 3 people working, where our proposed increase is 115%. And yeah, it's a fair whack to try and pick up. I don't know whether Shire is going to look at trying to support small business in the town, or is the policy to drive them out and hopefully that the big players come in and they just swallow these rates?
Mr. Brody, the policy is to equalise the rate in the dollar for all categories, whether it be commercial, industry or residential. Over the years, like I know you've heard before, commercial and industry has been 60% lower than the residential rating component. So to generate enough rates in the industry and commercial sector to repair the roads and drainage and the infrastructure that we are responsible for, we have put this rating strategy together that makes it fair for all. So the rate in the dollar will be the same in all categories.
So, say pick
If
10,
it is approved by the council tonight.
Yeah. Well, say pick 10 years ago, were we doing something that bad that we've created such a monster of a debt now? Is that what I'm reading?
I've stated many occasions, Mr. Brody, that in previous years the town has not invested in infrastructure like it should have, roads, drainage, and general maintenance on things, and we in the past 18 months have turned that around where we're focused on spending the money that we generate out of rates on the town's infrastructure, and it's clear, to a lot of people that they can see large improvements in the way the town is being managed and serviced and repaired. But that does take time and money, and by reducing the rates charged on the community, we will then reduce the the renewals, the road repairs, the drainage maintenance, and fall back further in our backlog of maintenance and repairs that we have currently.
Yeah, I agree with that, Milo. Just like, is there a way to ramp it slowly up instead of like last year we took a 12.5% increase, which is,
That's right.
I haven't come across that in any other companies that I deal with purchasing or working for, in the 12.5% last year. Now, the proposal this year is 115 based on mine. Some other people are around 75 to 80%. So basically in 2 years, I'm going to cop, 120-some% increase. To pick that up in small businesses,
I understand where you're coming from, because I'm in the same category. So, but it comes back down to being fair and equal across the whole community. That's why we've chosen to take the rate in the dollar, to bring the rate in the dollar the same on all categories, so everybody is paying the same amount.
Yeah.
Last year we did have the option of taking it up 25%, and we dropped it back to 12%. But still, at the end of the day, those two categories still remain significantly lower than the residential component of Port Hedland.
But would they look at a 5-year plan to ramp it up rather than just, well, you talk about not gouging the miners, you're gouging us.
CEO?
If I can just comment, although tonight we're not considering the draft budget, this is considering rates. The draft budget that has been workshopped with council is a pretty austere budget. There's not a lot going into asset renewal. If we had to ramp it up to the level that it should be, overall budget would have to be around 40 million rather than the 25. It is really the cost of keeping the current level of service and keeping the doors open.
Oh, yeah, I appreciate that. But we've all gone through the last couple of years. We've had to reduce what we do in spending. I had 2 factories. I've dropped 1 factory off because we just couldn't afford to keep it. That was our future planning. We've had to drop wages back on most of the blokes who are working with me now. They've taken a $30,000 drop in their wages over a year. So they've all accepted that. We've all pulled in and got through, which I reckon is probably the hardest 2 years that I've been up here in 32 years. So, and that's where I'm looking a little bit of support from the council. I realise they've got to have funding to maintain the services, but there should be a better strategy in ramping it up instead of taking a monster gouge out of us. Yep.
We, Mr. Brody, last year we advertised a 4 million reduction in operational costs. This year we have cut the budget to the bone. There is really no other option for the town of Port Hedland to reduce rates other than to cut the services and the staff.
Because I spoke to you before in the other meeting that we're already copying massive insurance here. That's unheard of anywhere else. Yeah. So.
Mr. Brody, the same costs that business are charged, the town has those same costs.
Yeah, I understand, and that's where I think hopefully the state government steps in and has a look at it.
I wish that was the case, but I'm afraid the state government does not help us. In funding. As a matter of fact, the funding that is applied to the town of Port Hedland over a considerable amount of years has been reducing at the maximum level.
Okay, thanks very much for your time, and I just hope that you do consider ramping it instead of chopping at it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Brody. Do I have any other further public questions?
Rod Kavanagh, 4 Canine Cove, people. I just want to ask, how much did the airport used to contribute to the budget before we gave it away?
My understanding was about $12 to $13 million a year.
There we go. That's your answer. You sold something off that's not going back.
That's a decision of council that was made, and there is no turning back from that decision.
Yeah, Tiger Donahue, 28 Sutherland Street. So we sold the airport, we've got the money in the bank, is that correct? Right.
Yes.
So, but we're carrying 25 or 30 mil worth of debt. So why don't we pay out the debt? It's like paying out a mortgage, and then we're reducing the expense here of 1.2 million worth of interest.
Yep.
Interest instead of money.
We have looked at that approach. If we pay the debt back, it's nearly at. The other thing with that is that brings us to our debt ceiling, so we can't really loan any more money. If we pay the debt back, we get charged a break fee, which then really doesn't give us any advantage because we'll be paying the same amount back by paying the fine, if you like, for early termination of those loans.
So it's probably more a budget question. Is all the debt set in for long-term interest payments? Okay. Who authorised all of that? If you can't have an exit strategy,
can I answer
that's
that?
ridiculous.
Yes. All of those loans that the town has currently are ongoing loans from previous years. That's
So some of these loans go on for 16 years.
16 to 18 years. That's
so
correct.
You're talking there's going to be exit fees to pay out 25 odd mil. There's going to be exit fees of
millions of dollars.
$16 million.
Oh, not 16.
16 years multiplied by.
Can I pass the question on to the
just finishing
CEO?
It's probably something worth considering.
We actually looked at this in detail in March. We looked at the payment plans for the loans over the life of their loans. We had the payout numbers provided by the WA Treasury Corporation, with whom all the loans are with. And then we looked at what we're actually earning in interest on the money to actually pay those loans. And over the long term, it's in the council's interest to not pay the loans out. I'm very much of the same view of you. Yes, you would, reduce your debt. However, the way the loans have been structured and the interest rates on them, they're fixed.
Yep.
And what we're earning on the money in the bank, we've done the analysis right out for the 20 years, and there's absolutely no benefit at the moment in paying out those loans.
So the fixed loans, what's the interest rate on them at the moment?
I can't recall off the top of my head. They're roughly, because of the payment, some drop-offs, you've got to look at each of them individually and then assess them, in that case. But yeah, I'm sorry, I can't.
Can I get you to direct the question to me? Thanks.
Yeah, right.
Yep.
How much interest are we earning on the pool of money in the bank from the airport?
CEO?
At the moment, it's roughly, depending on when you go out for the term deposits and the maturity profiles, but basically it's anywhere between 2.5 and 2.8%. I will make the statement now that under the current Local Government Act, the only thing we can do with that money is invest it in term deposits. So we've had conversations with council about trying to attract a higher rate, but under the Local Government Act at the moment, all we are able to do is basically invest in safe, low-risk investments, which are attracting the best rate I think we've had recently is about 2.82%.
Exactly. The other ones are all fixed and locked at whatever they are. So, yeah. Right.
Thank you. Do I have any further public questions? Close public question time at 6:05 and open public statement time at 6:05 and call for any public statements.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Maura Glow. My address is 88 Anderson Street, Port Hedland. I'm addressing my statement specifically to councillors. I ask the indulgence of the public while I deliver this serve really. However, and I'm going to read off a prepared statement. I cannot bear witness to the behaviour of councillors without making comment on my disappointment and not to use too strong a word, disgust at your behaviour as our elected representatives. When I noticed the agenda item recommending a mentor to facilitate improvement in relationships between you all at the cost of $50,000 to us ratepayers, I am astounded that such a small group of adults, most of who know one another very well, are unable to come together a few times a month to facilitate timely, sensible and prudent management of community needs without resorting to mindless sniping and pointless challenging of each other's authority and abilities. Trust me, from where I am sitting, none of you are covering yourselves in glory or filling me with a confidence to view you as anything other than inept, incompetent and self-serving individuals, only sitting around the table for self-gratification, an opinion arrived at due to the lack of any intelligent debate or comment by most of you on the issues that matter, and your enthusiasm for focusing on personality differences and not arriving at solutions to problems that are overwhelming our community. For example, I was absolutely disgusted at last night's meeting. Councillor De Cash and Deputy Mayor, what expected outcome did you desire from that pointless niggling questioning of the Mayor last night? Do you really believe that ratepayers cared that the Deputy Mayor was asked to leave a meeting while a confidential matter was discussed? The nature of the subject matter I am very confident that she was fully aware of, and what exactly did Councillor De Cash hope to achieve last night other than to illustrate his own ignorance of local government procedure? I have stopped coming to meetings, a regular attendant of meetings, as it is apparent to me that on these issues, budgeting, rates, town planning and the strategic positioning of this town, most of you have no opinion and have done no homework. If I am too harsh in this assessment of the current council, then prove me wrong by arriving at meetings fully across the agenda items, asking pertinent questions on behalf of the community, and offering intelligent debate on topics of critical importance to us ratepayers. And can I throw down a challenge to you? Why don't we begin tonight? And I look forward to hearing councillors represent the interests of the ratepayers of this community. Thank you.
Thank you. Do I have any further public statements?
Good evening, Mr. Mayor. Jim Henneberry, 51 Kingsmill Street, Port Hedland, Progress Association. I believe the message from the community is that they understand what the council is doing with the equalisation of the rates across all sectors, and that's an understandable explanation there. What we don't have as the community is we don't have the draft budget that you guys have, and in the documentation where it says we need these extra $5 million to tend to community strategic plans, which we have no idea what they are and they're undertaking, or whether those funds are for provisions we would probably, as a community, hope that the councillors, in view of the budget, would then say, well, let's keep the rates as they are, $25 million, because the CEO is right, you need $26 million to run this machinery here, local government. You need that money, so set the budget at that, and if there is any other increases required, then dip into the interest that you're earning on the airport funds, not so much the capital, because I know we can't touch the capital, but the interest in there is accumulating at $4, $5, $6 million a year. Use that, or 2-3 million of that, to top up whatever you require in the budget. But the community and the business community is hurting out there. We have the highest level of repossessions in the country. Businesses are just scraping by. They need to see support. They need the council to lead them on this and say, okay, we understand what you're going through. We're not going to put the rates up by 5 million. We have other funds which we can call upon if we need to. So the councillors know the draft budget. You'll make the decision. You're our elected representatives. We trust you with that. So, but if you could just bear those comments in mind from the community. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hendlebury. Can I just correct your statement? It was stated that there is no additional funds to the budget, and the airport interest is being used in the current budget. Do I have any further public statements?
My name's Tony Boyvich, and I live at 7 Monks Place in Prepool. I was pretty heated to come up here, and I was really going to give it to you, but I'll be a bit easy. I've lived here 32 years, and currently I think it's ridiculous that you put it up over 100% the way you calculate the GRV, okay, for one thing. For the other, currently, the street I live in has got no footpath, no nothing, and if you currently go through with this GRV at 11 point something cents, I'll be paying $8,500 a year rates, which I think is totally ridiculous. Now, every one of you paid that, you'd be pretty upset too. So I think you really need to look, maybe what Rob was saying there, maybe you should look at the budget as if it's 25 million a year. Maybe you should touch into that money from the airport, which is, how much is it actually in the bank? I haven't actually, how much is in the bank?
Currently we have around 200 million in the bank. 200
million? Well, perhaps you should take 10 million a year out towards the rates to help some of these people in the town, because like you said, I've been here 32 years and it's the biggest downfall I've seen ever, and a lot of people up here are really hurting, and a lot of people lost their whole livelihoods, lost their houses, lost everything, and you can turn around and throw the rates up so ridiculous. Sure, some of them have gone down, but what about the rest of us that have gone up? You know, people do their houses up, so they want to live there, so they do it up and make a nice living for themselves, and their GRV goes up and they get hit in the back pocket. It's totally wrong. People should be praised for doing their places up, not penalised when the rates go to ridiculous prices. And it should be looked at, it should be fair for everybody across the laws. Why should I pay $8,500 and the guy next to me pay $4,000? You think that's fair? Honestly, you think it's fair? You know? Really take a look at it. The town is really hurting. One other thing is the way I look at business. If you've got a business and you've got someone running it and he's running it at a loss, what do? You get rid of them. Now, the council needs to tap into the money. I mean, look at the way you spend money. I mean, I don't know how much you spent on that roundabout at South Hedland, but really it didn't need to be done. That's money wasted as far as I'm concerned. A lot of other people are saying the same thing. So you've got to look at where you're spending your money for starters. The other thing too is all big companies, when the downfall come, they looked at saving money. You know, they had to put people off. If you've got to look at the Shire and you've got to put people off to save money, to save us ratepayers, do it. Okay? And look at where you're spending the money properly. Because damn right, there's a lot of people in this town hurting, and there's a lot more that are going to go under in this town. And you should all know that, because you voted there to represent all of us here in the town. Okay? We put you there on good faith that you will look after us as ratepayers of this town. And that's what you need to be doing.
Thank you. Do I have any further public statements?
Kavanagh for Canaan Cove, Pretty Pool. My statement is I'd just like to urge all you councillors to vote against this because it's bad for the town. It's not good for anyone living here or even investors. It's bad for everybody. Obviously, there was a mistake made and it's become more obvious tonight by leasing this airport out. Some of you guys probably made that decision. So it's obviously a pretty poor decision because now we can't afford to live here anymore because we got rid of the airport. So some of that money needs to come back. And I also find it ridiculous that you've got all this money paying out at high interest rates and then you're getting such a poor interest rate back. It just seems out of proportion. Most of the banks now, I think it's illegal actually now to have fixed interest loans, or is that what they're called? Fixed interest loans. So surely there must be a point coming up where you can get out of them. Because you can't get them on houses or anything anymore. If you want to buy a house, you've got to do interest and what do you call it? You've got to pay it off. You can't just sit on it. So I think we should be getting some of that money out of the airport, putting it back in, helping the people out, because that's what you're here for. So I urge all you guys and girls to vote against it.
Yeah. Thank you, Mr. Kavanagh. Do I have any further public statements? Thank you. I'll close public statement time at 6:16. Move on to item 5, questions from members without notice. Deputy?
On the agenda item, can I ask a question?
Yes.
Yeah. Yes, Mr. Mayor. Just relating back to our Saturday meeting, I just want to know where in this agenda item have we allowed for the extreme high risk of the rates that we spoke about on Saturday?
CEO?
So this is not the budget. Sorry, this is not the budget. In the budget it will reflect where that money is being set aside. So this is purely the rates.
Any further questions, Deputy?
Sorry, just one more. Do we have a rough estimate of what our final figure is in this budget?
CEO?
I can just refer Jodie. Sorry, thank you.
Thank you, through the chair. So the estimated budget figures were as per the workshop on Saturday until we have a final position on the rating, which is looking at approximately $48 million in operational expenditure and then 13.5, I think, roughly in capital projects, which you all reviewed in quite a lot of detail.
Sorry, Mayor, I was just meaning what's left in the bank.
CEO?
Sorry, I don't understand the question. Just
what are we left with before we go into this next stage? What are we left with last year's budget? Carryover.
CEO?
sorry,
So,
would
do
you
you
have
mind just clarifying? I just want to make sure I'm answering it.
The carryover.
The carry forwards.
Can you speak into the mic?
Last year's budget to this year's budget.
The projects that we're looking to carry forwards into 18-19?
No, carryover money. Anything left from last year's.
No, sorry, we don't carry over money. We budget fresh from each financial year.
Right. Thank you.
Anything further, Deputy?
No, thank you, Mayor.
Councillor Arrow? Councillor Whitwell?
Look, I think it'd be useful for everybody to have both sides of the budget. You know, like we're at the moment, we're only looking at a part of the budget, which is the rates, right from the income side, the revenue side. And we've got the other part, which is the capital side that's coming in and goes out. And we've got, we get income from our activities. But we need to have a look at that, because when we're comparing rates and we're putting on rates, which is a fairly dominant part of that, I think it's we need to really understand where that fits in with the mould. And I think that people have Port Hedland need to know that. I know it's a reverse, and so are you interested in doing that?
Councillor Whitwell, I'm sure you asked that question on Saturday, and we went through the sections of the budget that put it together and determined how much the rate in the dollar would be at. CEO, would you like to answer further?
So at the workshop, as you know, we went through the capital projects, the operational costs and our revenue sources and what the options were. So we have that draft budget. It all depends now on what our revenues and setting the rates. We'll then, if there's any change to that, we'll then go back and refine that operational budget.
Well, I don't know whether you've ever used sensitivity analysis in looking at budgets and looking at expenditures, but they're the sort of things we need to get into, because that way people can feel confident in the way we're going. Are you interested in doing that?
CEO?
Are you interested in using variation analysis to see what options are the most likely ones?
Could I refer to Director of Finance, Anthea?
Thank you. Through the Chair, I am aware of sensitivity analysis, Councillor Whitwell. It's probably too late to implement that at the council here this year. It's certainly something that we are looking at going forward, and as I've spoken with council on a few occasions, I'm talking about overhauling the way we do all of our reporting, from budgeting right through to our monthly accounts and the year-end process. But at this stage, as we've provided on Saturday, we'll be working to a balanced budget, and depending on what comes through with the rates revenue, we will then start to cull projects. The operating budget, the operating expenditure that we actually put up on Saturday has been reviewed by ELT in great detail and is pretty much threadbare. It's enough to keep the place running and provide the level of service that is expected by the community, and that's it. If the rates go up or down, it'll be the projects that determine what we actually do or don't do. And as you know, we went through that in great detail on Saturday. We've provided you with a list of the highs, and then once we know where we're at, we'll come back and do the cut. So the lever, and the only thing we can do sensitivity analysis on at this stage are the projects.
Anything further, Councillor Whitwell? Councillor Carter? Councillor De Cash?
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Mr Mayor, have all the rate payments been received by Council from last year's rates? And if not, how much is still owing, please?
CEO?
I can just refer to the Director.
Not all rate payments for the financial year ending 30 June 18 have been received. We had a look at it briefly on Monday. At this stage, in the vicinity of $3 million is outstanding, and we're currently looking at our options. I will say there are a couple of large items in there in relation to Maya, things like that, which we'd have to recognise as rates, but obviously at this stage we're not, the recovery on those is not known. So we're just doing the analysis on that in preparation for the year end.
So through the Chair, Maya would say it's about $500,000, Mr Mayor. So that means there's 2.5, no?
If you would like a number, I can get you a number.
I'm just saying, so say $2 million, that's, sorry, Mr Mayor.
Councillor De Cash, I can get you a number so we're clear. CEO?
Okay.
Sorry, we can't go into individual assessments in public.
Through the Chair, so that, let's say there's about $2 million outstanding then.
Well, the CEO's just stated we can't go into individual assessments, so
Thank you.
Do you have any further questions? Councillor Hebbar.
Yes, through the chair. I just wanted to ask the residents and commercial properties 8.3% that have had the increase. They received their first letter at the 11.42% rate in the dollar increase. Have they received a second letter with this extra reduction?
It's not my understanding that that's happened currently.
Okay. I was just, considering some people mentioned tonight that they had a certain figure that they've received,
right.
so that figure could be reduced now?
It will, yeah, it
Okay.
definitely will be reduced from 11.3 to 9 points. The officer's recommendation is 9.3.
Thank you.
Councillor McDonald.
No, thank you, Mayor.
Councillor Pitt.
One question, just in regards to the guy who came in speaking about small business and this uniform rating system. Is there any chance, is there any regulations and stuff where the town are able to give concession to small business?
This has been discussed at Saturday's meeting as well. There will be the ability for businesses that are in hardship to apply for a reduction to the town of Port Hedland.
Okay, thank you. No further questions.
Thank you. Item 6, declarations of all members to have given due consideration to all matters contained in the business paper before the meeting. Can I have a show of hands, please? Thank you. 9-0. Read out this disclaimer. Members of the public are cautioned against taking any action on council decisions on items on this evening's agenda in which they may have an interest until formal notification in writing by the town has been received. Decisions made at this meeting can be revoked pursuant to the Local Government Act 1995. Item 7. Item 7.11, Rating Strategy 2018-19, with the officer's recommendation on page 7. Do I have a mover in the officer's recommendation?
Mr. Mayor, can I say that we get off camera, or whatever the terminology is, and just discuss this issue?
Or would you like to suspend standing orders?
Yes, please.
Do I have a mover to suspend standing orders? Move, Deputy Mayor. Do I have a seconder? Seconded, Councillor Pitt. Yes.
Yeah, I believe that Councillor Cash would like to go into confidence. Is that correct?
No, you said that.
No?
No, out of camera or whatever.
Yeah, just suspending standing orders.
No confidence,
yeah. No. I'll just get clarification. I think this is a procedural motion, so I think we just go straight into suspension. That's right. Okay, standing orders is suspended. Speak freely.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Look, I'm really struggling to. I know we've had many meetings in that between ourselves and the staff, and received a heap of items from the members of the public concerning all these rate payments and stuff. I think we're not ready to make a decision tonight. I think we need more discussion, and have a look at the situation with the money that we do have in the bank, mainly the Airport Wealth Fund. I hear that somebody says we can't use the capital. I think that's wrong. I think we can use the capital. It's our money. It's the ratepayers' money, so I'm not sure if there are restrictions in using it. I don't feel confident in giving an opinion today on which way to go until I have further meetings with councillors and other staff to discuss further and maybe a better system to to provide the ratepayers and the small businesses of our town. I think we should really look into it.
Well, yeah, that's fine, but that's really a cop-out, isn't it? Council has been elected to make these decisions. This is one of the hardest decisions that we make every year, and we cop, criticism from the public, regardless whether we reduce rates or increase rates. We have reduced rates previously by 5%. This item here, has a rate reduction for 91% of the residential component of the community, which is the majority of our ratepayers.
But that's only because of the GRB going down.
So we should be making a decision on our rates tonight. If we don't make a decision on our rates tonight, that means we can't present the rating strategy to the Minister, and then we're going to have an issue with adopting the budget as per the regulations where we have to have it in on time. So that time frame will be blown out, and we will not be in compliance with the Local Government Act. So I'm afraid, we do need to make a decision tonight on this.
So what is the time frame?
31st of August, is it? 30th of August?
The budget needs to be approved at the latest by the 28th of August. And basically, the way this works is if we lodge tomorrow, the Minister or the Department and the Minister generally take 6 weeks to get back to us, which would leave us with 2 weeks to basically rejig the budget, get that explained to Council, and then publicise that for the relevant meeting for its approval.
What happens if you vote against it and you don't get the numbers tonight? What happens then?
Then we will be holding another council meeting. I'm not going to take too many questions from the gallery, but I'll answer this one. We'll have to do another a special meeting and try and get it passed quickly, because we have to comply with the legislation. So there are timeframes surrounding this.
There's your answer.
Sorry, I recognise that there's timeframes. Can you apply for an extension for maybe 60 days so that it can be consulted a little bit better, and maybe have a look at financial, the current debt levels? And
Yes, we look like you've been told. Like you've been told, in question time, that engagement with the public has been had, and all of the financial issues that the town has been gone in. We've gone into them in detail, line by line, over the last 6 months, and previous last year we did exactly the same thing. And again, that resulted in a $4 million reduction in our operational costs. So year on year, while this administration has been in place, we have been looking at every dollar that we earn and spend.
Maybe I didn't make that clear.
I know.
Can you apply for an extension
Can
or not? Can we do that? Let more people. There's a lot of people talking about this that aren't here tonight that are pretty aggravated, as everybody said. So, is that a possibility?
Yes, we are able to apply for an extension. However, the extension may not be granted. That's the first issue. Secondly, this was a bit before my time, but however, the annual accounts last year were very late, and I do not think that applying for an extension to the budget will carry much favour with the department nor the minister.
So if you vote against it tonight, it'll be the extension anyway. So just think about that when you vote.
Thank you. Do I have any other comments
from
the council?
Yes, Mr. Mayor. So the issue is we've got $3 million outstanding from the previous year. If we put the rates up to whatever it is we've decided, those people are still owe $3 million, apart from that what else mentioned. Next year will be $6 million, and it'll just bubble because people won't be able. Either they'll go bankrupt or lose their houses or something. So my concern is that those people are still have to pay the $3 million. Are still in town. I accept there's a few businesses that have gone under, but it just doesn't seem right to me that There's $3 million outstanding from last year. That's my concern.
Can we, moving out of standing orders to discuss the matter and maybe ask some questions of the administration, but debating it, we'll have to go back into standing orders and debate the item.
I take it we're in standing orders at the moment.
No, we're not. We're
out of standing orders.
Yes.
Right. Okay. I'm sorry, I had it the wrong way around. But look, the issue really is that we're showing here a collection around about, I think it's about 30 million, right? Which I'd have to get it and read it. I haven't got my glasses, but it's around about 30 million. It's a bit over 30 million, and we know that about 5 million or 6 million of that's risky. Why don't we have a look at it, and once we get to the risk, we can identify what the risk is, then we can really work out what we can do for people generally. Because we've said here that we only need about 25,000 to run in rates to really run the show. So we've got this extra. I'm leaving away the part about the people who have not paid their rates at this stage, but that's another issue really.
25 million.
Yeah, 20. So if we look at that and we say, righto, let's put this forward, knowing that the what I'd call, and it's not really a windfall, it's a realisation that we've got this extra money, and we use that money then to try and reduce the amount of rates. I mean, it's just a thought, but we never intended that we had that money.
Can you explain it?
So, Councillor, a couple of answers. So, in relation to the rates yield that we are showing as levied, the first thing I just wanted to clarify for everybody in the room is the balanced budget is estimated on a $27.5 million revenue raised. $2.5 million can make a difference, so I just want to make sure that that's really clear as per the advertised ratings strategy. So, just wanted to make sure that was still the basis of the draft budget that was prepared and the discussions that we had on Saturday at the workshop. In relation to the high risk, in relation to valuation reviews, which is how that will come about, the discussion that we did have on Saturday at the workshop was around reducing the rates across, and you'll see as per the amended model that it was about mitigating that risk with some yield increase and then a rate reduction in the other spaces. So that was discussed at length on Saturday.
Can I just ask you something?
Councillor, can I get you to speak into the mic?
Can I just ask you something, and that is that at this stage, if we go ahead with this rate structure we've got at the moment, then we're not obliged to do it, but we've effectively we can't really commit ourselves until we know what the risk is, right? In other words, the risk of this extra money is a issue that we have to consider in how we actually, when we actually would budget it in terms of its use, right? That's really what I'm saying. And is that true?
It would be, yes.
Councillor, unfortunately, we don't know what the actual risk of that is because that determination doesn't sit with the council, that sits with the Valuer General. So we actually don't have we don't know. We actually don't know. So that's why on Saturday we discussed mitigating some of that risk by creating the provision.
And if I can also refer to the situation with the Shire of Ashburton, where they're having to pay that money back. And the discussion on Saturday was how do we protect ourselves, the community, against a similar situation, and it was to reduce the risk as much as possible.
Can I say, David, they never touched the money. They put the money straight into a reserve, so...
That's what I said.
Yeah.
Do I have any further discussion from Councillor?
Mayor, probably the only thing I'd like to ask, we obviously had some community consultation sessions in relation to the rating strategy with the previous model. The latest model that we've come up with, which for myself, the first time I saw that was on Saturday. Has that been widely communicated throughout the community at all, other than the release of the agenda on the council's website today?
Well, no, it hasn't. But the new numbers create a additional benefit to the ratepayers at Port Hedland.
Yeah, I suppose, and my concern is that I just feel that the community are unaware that there's been some significant changes within that modelling, judging by the statements from the community members this evening, that they're still talking around the 70 and 110% type increases for their properties. So are we able to sort of maybe just communicate that a little, do we think?
So it's really, once council makes its decision tonight, we'll then go to and we'll then refer it to the minister, and once we get a decision, then we can make that public in a fuller sense of explaining it.
Anything further, council? Do I have a mover to go back into standing orders?
Yes.
Move Councillor De Cash. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Arif, we are now back in standing orders. I have an officer's recommendation on the rating strategy for 2018-19. And do I have a mover in the officer's recommendation? I'll just say, if we don't get a mover and a seconder and debate this item, this will be clear, to the Department of Local Government that this council cannot function correctly, and there will be consequences.
The council's listening to the people.
I think, Mr.
Do
Mayor.
I have a mover in the officer's recommendation?
I'll move it, Mayor.
Move Councillor McDonough. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Carter. Do I have any against?
Yes, Mr. Mayor.
Speakers for, Councillor McDonough. Speakers for, Councillor Carter. Speakers against, Councillor De Cash.
In relation to the rating strategy 2018-19, item 7.1, I myself, members of the gallery over there, and obviously councillors, I am a ratepayer. I'm also a small business owner with the intention of opening a commercial premises here in town. So I definitely understand where you are coming from in relation to the idea that increasing it to the rate that we have, particularly for commercial and industrial, or the proposed increase, should I say, that it is preposterous. I've been privy to some other information on the weekend where we've actually reduced the rates in the dollar, and as has been mentioned, there's been some other property identified that hasn't been rated correctly in the past, perhaps. Myself, I've received over a 70% reduction in the rental income that I receive on my property in town. My house value has dropped by over 100%. So I wholeheartedly feel where you're coming from and understand. And I know that a lot of my fellow councillors are ratepayers, and they feel the same. Moving forward, I believe that this will be the best outcome for the town. I think it is absolutely unfair that the residents pay a higher rate in the dollar than commercial do, when commercial have the ability to actually claim that as an operating expense. A resident does not, living in their own property, claim their rates as a living expense. Therefore, I believe there needs to be some equity there. yeah, as far as the motion, I am in favour of it, and I'm happy to discuss with anyone at length if you see me in the street or whatever, the reasons behind that. So yeah, that's my feelings on that.
Thank you, Councillor McDonough. Speakers for, Councillor Carter.
Yeah, I'm with Warren McDonough. I think it's imperative we get this thing passed, get it through council, get it approved, get it going, and let's move on to other better things. Thank you.
Speakers against, Councillor McDecash.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Look, Mr. Mayor, we have the avenue to further assist ratepayers and small businesses through the welfare fund, and we've already discussed that there could be avenues for another $5 or $6 million in rates. Now, if we are successful in that, then we can repay the welfare fund. The wealth fund, sorry. So, and just listen to what's being said. I think whether it's 3 million or 6 million we get back, we will get back money because we have to rate those businesses. Whether we like it, it's law. So we will get some benefit back. We must do. Otherwise, yeah, we wouldn't have to comply with what the government's saying. So let's help these people out for now, and when in the future we can repay the money back in the wealth fund, let's do it. But people are struggling. Thank you.
Speakers for?
I'll speak for it.
Thank you, Councillor.
You know, we sat around last week, 8 out of the 9 councillors, for many hours with the staff, many staff that came in on their day off and gave us the best possible information and scenarios to come at this agenda item. All of us around the table want to make Port Hedland livable for our community, and by doing that we want to make it affordable as well. Now, the model that we've got here represents a decrease for 91% of our ratepayers. 91%, that's huge. Just 9% will have an increase. Now, yes, it is a very substantial increase, but as it was very clearly said by Councillor McDonough, a lot of it is businesses. Now, a lot of those businesses are huge, big international companies that are paying less rates in the dollar than the mum and dads that are also doing it hard. The mum and dads are doing it hard, not just the big businesses. You know, who do we need to look after everyone. We have to decide who to look after. The mum and dads, the businesses, and we've come with a good compromise. So, you know, what the residents behind us here that are here, you know, the new information is that the industrial commercial that we had advertised at 11.15 has gone down to 9.34. The residential from 11.15, residential to 9.34. So, I mean, they don't understand, or they haven't heard up till now to this point, that there is a further reduction, that this is just it still hurts. Any taxes hurt, but we have to make it as fair as possible. This rating strategy starts to make it more uniform across all the areas. The properties that were found that were incorrectly rated or not rated at all will give us an extra $5 million, but we do need to make sure that we don't spend that money, because as in the example of a neighbouring shire, we don't want to be caught out where we have to pay back $5 million because they have appealed and found out that we have been overcharging them or something. So we need to make sure our risk is covered. So that extra $5 million we can't touch. So just everything that's in this rating strategy, I think, has been well thought through. Nobody likes rates and taxes. It's a well-known fact, but it's also a fact of life. You have to pay them. So, fellow councillors, a lot of work has gone into this, and it hurts. I know it hurts. I'm a ratepayer, but we have to move forward with this.
Thank you, Councillor. Speakers against? Councillor Whitwell.
Look, I'm a small business operator and I'm also a rate payer in not just this jurisdiction but quite a few others. And, you know, they all have problems with getting rates done and we all have to bear some element of that. And what's happened in here, particularly in Western Australia and the Northwest, is there's a huge change in the actual value of property and downwards, which has now meant that when we're raising the same rates, we have to use a different index in a sense, or a different RID, and that itself is a technical issue which doesn't really, it's the way we do it. But we've got to look at what's happening with the people in the community. I think that we have to make some judgments about things like, do we want to even up the load between the various segments now, or do we want to leave that? That's an issue that's been before us. And I think what I hear is that most, or generally speaking, people want it evened up. So there's not so much clutter in the rating, and we get a simple rating system. And that values are driven by the values, or the amount that you pay is driven by the value of the property that you own, which is a principle that's used in rates, used right throughout the world. And that's the thing that determines how much people pay. The issue, though, is that we have got this really serious problem. I don't know whether as a council we're going to be able to stem the flow. We're only a small, relative to the state and the size of the problem. It's not just here; it's all around the mining areas. The problem is people are going bankrupt, and seriously going bankrupt. It's starting to accelerate now. But I think we can perhaps be at the end of this, if we find we've got a basis in which we can make some changes in terms of helping people a bit. It might be reduction in rates or something like that. But I don't know how you do it. But in the end, we are going to have to realise how much money we have, which we don't realise at the moment. It's too uncertain. So we've rated things so that it will give us a certain amount which will cover the basic expenditure, which is what we need. So my position is that we should, because we're dealing today not with the budget, but it's in the context of a budget, and we're dealing with revenue side of the budget, and a particular type of revenue side of the budget, just the rates themselves. And I think we should actually make a decision on that today, because we've got to get that part of that out of the road, so we can look at the other parts of the whole budget structure. Now, we've gone a fair way with that already, and that's really good. And we've actually brought ahead some expenditure into this year, which I thought was great, an innovation that we did, so that we're not leaving plant staying static. Everything seems, we're just trying to continue it, so we don't get this big lump cycles coming through our expenditure, which I think is really, really a great thing. But my view would be that we should have a vote on it today.
Speakers for?
I'll speak for. Just listening to the debate has kind of swayed me a little bit, but in saying that, I feel, I heard you, Mayor Blanco, this morning on the radio speaking about the Wodgina camp and how that would leave business outside of town, and we have small business coming in here tonight asking for help. And so if this is approved tonight, then I would highly stress upon council and administration to really look into the small business concessions and those facing hardship, because small business is what builds this town. It gives local people jobs and it keeps our business in the town, and that's something that you emphasised this morning on the radio, Mayor Blanco, about business staying in town. Thank you.
Speakers against? Speakers for?
I'll speak on it, Mayor, thanks. Yes, look, it is very hard times. I understand where our town is at the moment. I'm a bit... Timing is what I found tonight, and the words strategic community plan were mentioned. How our timing, I believe, and we're guided through our strategic community plan, but how the timing, if we had have done that strategic community plan after this budget, would have that changed our strategic community plan? Yes, I think it would have changed the community's thoughts and feelings that went into that budget. But unfortunately, we're left with a strategic community plan that people wanted us to keep normality and keep everything going as it is. Maybe we need to go back next year, and if it does still become too extreme, then maybe we might have to start looking at cutting or whatever else. But hopefully, the Mayor keeps saying we're heading into the next Ben-Hur, so hopefully things will get better sooner than later. Thank you.
Speakers against? Speakers for? Okay, I'll speak for it. There's a few arguments here that really, I don't know whether they would materially impact people going bankrupt. What sort of reduction are you talking about in a rates notice, to force somebody into bankruptcy? So if we reduce rates by 50%, the average, we'll say the average is $8,000 a year. So, we reduce it by $4,000. If somebody is going into bankruptcy, $4,000 is not going to help them. Okay, but what that actually does is it puts the town in a position where it has to reduce services and maintenance and repairs and infrastructure upgrades by over 50%. So we need to really take that in consideration and ensure that we generate enough income to keep our services at the same level, which is what the community has told us through our strategic community plan. I've spoken about this many times before. If the council really wants to have a look at how to reduce operational costs, they're going to have a look at duplicated services in the town of Port Hedland. I've spoken about it many times, and I haven't been able to get a conversation going with the council about looking at real cost reductions because of the way the town is set up. We have consulted with the community extensively on this proposal moving forward. I understand that people in the business community are not happy about increases. Average probably 70%. I've been talking about that for 2 months on the radio, wherever. I've been talking about it. I haven't been silent. Yes, it's a huge increase, but what it does, it puts everybody at the same level. I've been fielding complaints by many community members in the business district saying, why are our roads, why are our drainage, why is everything in such a poor condition? The reason it's in poor condition is because the town hasn't invested in critical infrastructure for the last 10 or 20 years. It's spent its money elsewhere. This administration has turned that around. We've done a 180. We are spending our money on infrastructure in the town of Port Hedland, and it's obvious. I can see that when I drive around. Some people are going to like it. Some people are not going to like it. At the end of the day, we're elected to this position, and we're not going to please everybody. But like it says here, 91% of the ratepayers that are in this town are getting a reduction. we need to ensure that a fair and equitable distribution of the rates yield, and we need to ensure that we apply the appropriate service delivery to the town. And that's what has been discussed over many months. That's the outcome of our strategic plan, and that's what the majority of the people that were engaged in that strategic process have said to us. So by reducing our rates, we will then have to reduce the services we give to the town significantly, and we're going to have to also reduce the staffing levels that we have. Speakers against? Speakers for? Right of reply. Councillor McDonald.
Thank you, councillors. Thank you very much for all your input there, both for and against. I think it's quite interesting that there was speculation that we may not have looked at the airport fund, or the wealth fund as we refer to it, to perhaps give some assistance in reducing any increase. That we haven't looked at paying down debt out of that wealth fund to reduce burden on the council. We've looked at all of these things, and we've asked lots of questions. We've done lots of different modelling, and as the director stated to us, we're in no better position in the long term by paying those out. Now, these are all legacy issues, exactly the same as we've got many legacy issues around the town, from infrastructure that hasn't been kept up. We haven't been looking after the town's housing stock that we have. So there's been a lot of extra expenditure, and we're trying to bring everything up to a level in the town where we hear all the time, and I hate to say it, but we hear all the time, oh, well, have a look down the road at Karratha. Well, yeah, we do look and we do see, and I think everyone wants the roads to be better, everyone wants the drainage to be better, everyone wants our parks to be better, and this is the way we will do it. So I would suggest that in relation to the rating strategy 18-19, that we now put it to the vote.
Thank you, councillors. Those in favour of the officer's recommendation, show of hands, please. And those against? Motion is passed 8-1. Item 8. Matters for which the meeting may be closed, confidential matters, there is nil. Item 9, closure. The next ordinary council meeting will be held on Wednesday the 25th of July 2018, commencing at 5:30, with the public agenda briefing held on Wednesday the 18th of July 2018, commencing at 5:30. I declare the meeting closed at 7:03.